2 billion Christians believe Jesus was God in human form. 1.8 billion Muslims believe Muhammad was the final and greatest prophet ever sent to humanity. They cannot both be right. And today, we are going to look at both claims. Not with reverence. Not with apology. With the same cold, honest standard we would apply to any historical figure who shaped the world. Prepare to be uncomfortable. Both of you. Let's start with what we actually know. Neither Jesus nor Muhammad left a single word in their own handwriting. Not one sentence. Not one letter. Everything we know about both men was written by followers, years or decades after their deaths, by people who believed deeply in what they were writing and had every reason to present their subject in the best possible light. This is not a criticism unique to one religion. This is the historical reality of both. The earliest Gospel, Mark, was written approximately 40 years after Jesus died. 40 years of oral tradition, retelling, and theological development before anyone wrote it down. The later Gospels Matthew, Luke, John were written even further from the events they described. The earliest biographical account of Muhammad, written by Ibn Ishaq, was composed roughly 130 years after his death. 130 years. We are asked to build our entire understanding of the divine on documents written generations after the fact, by devoted followers, with no original manuscripts, no contemporary eyewitness accounts, and no way to verify the details. This is the foundation both religions are standing on. Now let's look at the men themselves. Christians will tell you that Jesus was unique because he never sinned. Perfect. Pure. The only human being in history who lived a completely moral life. This is a remarkable claim. Let's examine it. Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 10 verse 34 says, "Do not suppose that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword." Jesus in Luke chapter 19 verse 27 in a parable, "But the words are his says, but those enemies of mine who did not want me to be king over them, bring them here and kill them in front of me." Jesus in Matthew chapter 15 encounters a non-Jewish woman begging him to heal her daughter. His response is to call her people dogs. The exact words, "It is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs." He eventually heals the daughter, but only after she accepts the insult and begs harder. This is the perfect, sinless figure Christians ask the world to worship. Now, Muslims are currently feeling very satisfied. Hold that feeling. Because we are not finished. Muslims will tell you that Muhammad was the greatest moral example in human history. The perfect human being. Al-Insan al-Kamil. A man whose life is a template for all of humanity until the end of time. Let's look at the template. Muhammad married Aisha when she was 6 years old. The marriage was consummated when she was 9. This is not an anti-Islamic claim. This is recorded in Sahih Bukhari, the most authoritative collection of hadith in Sunni Islam. Volume 7, Book 62, Number 64. Muslim scholars have spent centuries explaining this. Different historical norms. Different biological realities in 7th century Arabia. Girls matured faster then. But here is the problem with that argument. if Muhammad's life is the perfect template for all of humanity until the end of time, not just for 7th century Arabia, but for every human being in every era, then the template includes this. You cannot say his example is eternally valid and simultaneously say this particular part only applied to his specific time and place. Either the template is universal or it is not. Pick one. Christians are currently feeling satisfied again. Don't. Because let's talk about the Crusades. For 200 years, armies marching under the cross of Jesus Christ killed, burned, and massacred their way across the Middle East in the name of the man who said love your enemies and turn the other cheek. Jerusalem in 1099. Christian crusaders took the city. Contemporary accounts describe the streets running with blood up to the horses' knees. Muslims and Jews were slaughtered together, in the name of the Prince of Peace. But wait, Christians say. That wasn't real Christianity. Those men twisted the message. Fine. Let's accept that argument. Now apply it consistently. When Muslims point to terrorism, to extremism, to violence committed in the name of Islam, and Christians say that is what Islam really is, Muslims respond with exactly the same argument. Those men twisted the message. That is not real Islam. You cannot claim the Crusades were a distortion of Christianity while insisting that Islamic extremism represents the true nature of Islam. The logical standard has to be the same. Either both religions have been twisted by violent people throughout history, or neither has. Now let's talk about the thing both sides agree on and neither side wants to examine. Both Jesus and Muhammad built movements that became empires. Within 300 years of Jesus's death, Christianity was the official religion of the Roman Empire. The faith of a humble carpenter from Galilee had become the ideological foundation of the most powerful political institution in the Western world. Bishops had political power. Heretics were executed. The church controlled education, marriage, taxation, and access to God Himself. Within 100 years of Muhammad's death, the Islamic Caliphate stretched from Spain to Central Asia. An empire built on military conquest, governed by religious law, in which leaving the faith was punishable by death. Both men preached humility, compassion, and submission to God. Both men's followers built systems of enormous worldly power that used religion to control populations, justify wars, and silence dissent. At some point you have to ask, is this a coincidence, or is there something about the structure of revealed religion, the claim that God Himself has spoken, that His word is final, that questioning it is not just wrong but sinful, that makes it uniquely useful for the accumulation of power? The message of love becomes the justification for empire. Every single time. So who was greater? Here is the honest answer. Both men were extraordinary historical figures who changed the world in ways that almost no other human beings have. Both taught genuine moral insights that have improved millions of lives. Both also said and did things that, by any modern ethical standard, require serious examination rather than uncritical reverence. The problem is not Jesus. The problem is not Muhammad. The problem is what happens when human beings decide that a person is so sacred that they cannot be examined. When questioning becomes blasphemy. When looking honestly at the historical record becomes an act of hatred rather than an act of inquiry. Christians who cannot hear a critical question about Jesus without feeling personally attacked are not defending Jesus. They are defending their own psychological need for an unexamined authority. Muslims who cannot hear a critical question about Muhammad without calling for violence are not defending the Prophet. They are defending their own terror of a world without absolute certainty. Both reactions reveal the same thing. Not faith. Fear. The greatest human beings in history do not need protection from questions. If Jesus was who Christians claim he was, an honest examination of the historical record will not destroy that. Truth survives scrutiny. If Muhammad was who Muslims claim he was, critical inquiry will not diminish him. Greatness does not collapse under examination. The only things that collapse under examination are the things that were never solid to begin with. Ask the questions. Both of you. Subscribe. Because the most dangerous sentence in any religion is, "You are not allowed to ask that."